And we are live. Are you back in the States?
No, I'm in Belgium.
Oh, nice. So I just remembered this morning one time when we were recording these, like we were around, I forget which episode, maybe like 15, like halfway where we are now. My hair was like in the in between phase and it was all over the place. And right before we went on, you were like, comb your hair and put on a shirt. And I was like, okay. And it was, yeah, it was a good reminder that the little things matter. And then
Little
just like,
thing,
yeah,
little things always matter.
yeah, and architecture and design and everything.
So, for our viewers, what do you have in mind for this webinar?
A conversation about
About what?
anything and everything. Okay, let me see. I was making some notes. Let's see what else. Okay, so is it picking up the leaf blower outside or no?
I
Okay,
hear
anyways,
some. Yeah,
yeah, I'll
don't
mute
worry.
when I. Okay. So I think classical buildings and traditional buildings, I think they are a little bit more intense, labor intensive, design wise and construction wise. Maybe just slightly. Because, but see, and then I was thinking maybe not because a lot of contemporary buildings are also very labor intensive. Like getting a very smooth layer of stucco is very difficult to do, and that requires application and reapplication of the stucco, and then it could crack. Whereas in classical and traditional, you have all the columns and all the moldings and all the plinths and the capitals and the entablature. So if it cracks, even if it's made out of stucco, if it cracks, the crack will run along one of those and it won't be visible. So, I mean, they're both labor intensive, and but you guys make a very strong case for classical and traditional being superior to the modernist approach. The, but I mean, sometimes I see like Buddhist buildings, and they are in a lot of ways spectacular.
Spectacular or threatening? Are you confusing being frightened with being impressed? Because look, when we see something that's frightening, it's also impressive because it scares us. Why do people go to see monster movies? They're impressed by something that's big and frightening.
Yeah, it's true.
You
People
say
watch a
you
lot.
say it's impressive, okay, but it's impressive because it's such absolutely gorgeous, like a great cathedral, or is it frightening, impressive?
I came across this building recently in the Philippines. It's a brutalist building, and oh, I gotta turn my brightness down. And I can't say that it wasn't labor intensive because there's a lot of concrete work, and then
I
it's
can't see it because
yeah,
there's
I
a
know.
reflection on the
Okay,
screen.
what's the name of this building? It's a Ramon Magsaysay Center in Manila.
I don't know it.
Ramon Magsaysay. Yeah, I didn't either until yesterday. Magsaysay. It's like encased in the elevations are encased in travertine. It's seeing these photos, it looks terrible, but
But look, Ara, have we been able to teach you anything in in these years
I
of the
think so.
webinars? The basic message of the webinars was supposed to be that architecture has to be human. Humans have to connect in a positive way to architecture. Architecture should be healing. The built environment should be a healing environment. That's our message. Okay, you
Yeah,
can
I agree
forget
with
all
that.
the, this thing is not healing. This thing is alarming.
This video popped up on my TikTok, and the guy was walking through this with his phone, and he was like, "Oh, look how magnificent it is! Oh, look at the columns! Look at the piece where the column transitions to the ceiling. Oh, look at the and then in that flat facade that sticks out, it's covered in travertine, even though it's a concrete building. So
Yeah,
it's
but
like
look,
a yeah,
this is not pleasing. It is alarming. You want a building with a lot of columns that's pleasing? Go to a Hindu temple.
yeah. Those are incredible.
12th century Hindu temple. I can't think of the exact names, but they're all.
Oh yeah,
Well, but you want the one with the columns. These are gorgeous, but
incredible.
just to compare, you want to find one that has the columns, that you walk through the columns. I don't see anyone with a colonnade, but anyway, it's.
Oh, maybe if I type colonnade. Yeah, it is a big difference when you see the column, because in the brutalism, a lot of times the column is just like a rectangle, but in the classical form language and a lot of traditional buildings, the column, like, it's the thicker
Yeah,
on the bottom.
look. Ara, we are doing Hindu architecture. We're not doing classical Western architecture.
Oh, true. Yeah,
I didn't say classical or Roman temples, Greek or Roman temples. I specifically wanted to go to a colonnade in Hindu architecture, which is traditional, but it's not classical.
true.
Okay, now look at this. Look at one of these.
Wow.
Absolutely gorgeous. You walk through it and you feel revitalized. You connect with it. What's the difference with the other one? The one that you showed me, the modernist one, was just menacing.
That's true. This is a massive difference. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, vast difference. And the difference is in the geometry. That's what I write about. That's what Neil writes about. The difference is in the geometry.
And it's true. You could argue, look, these ones, they carved them out of stone. But now,
Not all. No, not all. Some they're carved completely out of stone. Others are built columns. You have to look at all of these to see which ones, are carved out of, carved.
Well, okay, they're built, but they're still, maybe they're like different parts of stone assembled, but they're stone, right? These
Yeah,
12th century.
yeah, but you can make one today that's concrete.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. And then it's going to be easier today than it was back then, because you don't have to carve it, because they made the framework, they poured the concrete in there. It wouldn't be, oh, Anne's here.
Great.
They made the framework, they poured the concrete in there.
Yes.
And they could have just made the framework slightly differently. They only have to make it once, and they can
Exactly. Hello, Anne.
How's it going on?
Hey, hi. Last week was the AIA National Convention in Boston.
Wow, and you had the booth. Tell us about it.
What you really learn is how much people need to connect. A girl I went to UCLA with 30 years ago, she came looking for me and I saw her. It was like
you had hardly changed.
And then a guy I worked with at Graham Gund Architects came up to me. I worked with him 25 years ago. He now works Disney Imagineering in Florida.
Oh.
He introduced me to his colleague in Disney Imagineering in Hong Kong. And so I immediately gave Disney Imagineers my book.
Fantastic.
Because it features Disneyland Main Street as an example of a really well-designed street.
Yes.
With 52 different building elevations that are very detailed along it. So I have it was wild just walking in. What you really see there is the human need to connect. It's about connecting. And then, oh my God, and all the booths. Okay, these are for adults, right? Most of the booths have candies all over them, And are you ready for this? I went and I made Legos. There were Lego toys.
Yeah.
Here, I'll show you real quick.
Yeah, while we're waiting, please look up on the internet Julian Street in Christopher Alexander photos.
You could make your own identity.
Wow.
Make these. So all the architects are there making little things.
That's really cool.
It was just so there they are, people, these 60-year-olds playing with Legos. It was like they're just amazing. And the last time it was in Boston was 2008. But the amazing thing too is we shared the booth with iMotions. If you want, I can show you some just basic. And so iMotions was showing, they're brilliant. They showed facial expression analysis. So people would come to the booth and then they'd show how they're smiling, and then they'd laugh, and then they'd frown, and you could see, they could experience the tech. That's tech that rolled out of the Media Lab that was that now is bundled with iMotions. And now iMotions has been bought by Smart Eye. I mean, that's the major purveyor of all the biometric tools to Honda, BMW, GM, Tesla. I mean,
Really?
yeah, and they're based, they're worldwide. And it was just shocking. What was shocking too is other than one person in marketing, no architect knew anything about this tech. If you want, I mean, I could share my screen.
Wait. Yeah. But I have a question.
Okay, yeah.
No architect knew anything about this stuff, but were architects interested in this stuff?
The young people like Ara and younger, they were just jumping in. They just couldn't believe it was there. They loved it.
Wow.
And it's the first time in history, though, that iMotions and the Happy have been together, showing them this is a new way to assess the built environment. And people in your generation, Ara, and younger too, they're really talking about feelings and stress. The way, and my generation and earlier, Nikos, our generation, we were taught to sweep it under the rug, or you know what I'm talking about. You just wouldn't even look at it.
So the Media Lab is working with us, the MIT Media Lab?
No, not anymore. It rolled out of there about, I don't know, 10 or 15 years ago. It was invented there.
Oh, wow.
And then the two women founders, then they sold it, and now it's everywhere. There's another company that did similar software called Facet. They had Emotient software, which I still have on my computer. That, again, measures facial expressions, how quickly they change. Apple bought that software in 2016 and immediately took it off the market. It's absolutely amazing how clever.
Apple bought which software?
It's called Facet Emotient, F-A-C-E-T, and the Emotient was the software. It's eye tracking software. It's facial expression analysis software. Sorry, that was incorrect. So, and I show that. I still show that because I still have it on my machine. So I still show it. But yeah, the tech companies are totally into microscopically understanding expressions, how they change based on what the consumer is looking at. And the big companies that also use them are the grocery stores. Bookstores use them in Boston because they want to know where to place the books. You know, all this tech is really, people don't realize that AI is already here, guys. And everything's already.
Look, I'm writing articles on AI, so we need to.
It's already here. And
let me interrupt you because we have to finish something we
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to run in, but
no,
I won't stay too long. I gotta go.
So Ara, look at the Julian Street Inn. Second row, 1, 2, 3, fourth.
Oh, yeah, that's a nice image.
Okay, click on that. These are concrete columns that Christopher Alexander cast for the Julian Street Inn. But what? Nice. So here it is. Okay, so these are very simple but beautiful columns.
Yeah, they are
contemporary. Nothing fancy.
But they're beautiful.
Just a little bit of things, on the Capitol. Nothing fancy. Just a little bit of ornament on the Capitol. Not even painted. Gorgeous.
This is a really nice moment. I actually came to this website yesterday. They have images of Christopher Alexander's buildings, but I see what near meant by that.
Okay, we can leave that now. And
yeah, because see, I think the thing, like in this elevation, it's the depth of the facade. Near argues for, I think, more depth. But see, the thing is, sometimes you have a setback, and you want to maximize your square footage.
It doesn't matter as long as it has some geometry and symmetry, and
right.
And it's attractive. Okay, so let's. Sorry to interrupt, and let's.
No, I didn't mean to interrupt you guys. I'm sorry. But
no. We just wanted to show the column.
If you want me to just show you just some of the slides from the talk, and then on the following day, iMotions gave a talk. And they had their PhD neuroscientist and their director of consumers marketing giving the talk. Mostly the neuroscientist talked, and she showed our slides from our studies.
Really?
Nice.
That was just, and she advertised our books.
Wow.
On her slides, because nobody's really, I've been playing with iMotions now for 10 years. Yes. And that's what led to the founding of the nonprofit, the Human Architecture and Planning Institute. And so nobody really understands just how powerful this software is. And what's so interesting is you really see companies, the car companies don't fool around. The business world doesn't fool around. They just.
But see, when you start eye tracking and doing the facial recognition, and then you're going to go to the architecture students and the architects and the instructors and everyone who are going to look at Le Corbusier buildings and Mies van der Rohe buildings, and they're going to smile and their faces are going to light up. So what are you going to do?
Well,
with
yes
that
and
data?
no, though. Actually, it won't happen that much because a lot of it's non-conscious. The Corbu building, I did do a little bit of eye tracking preliminarily, and the person and people look around the edges of a Corbu building. The only person who looked directly at it was someone on the autism spectrum. So the autism spectrum, they're eye averse and they go for blankness. So I don't know if you know this, in the 21st century now, you can detect where a child at 12 months, if they're on the autism spectrum, where they're at by 12 months with eye tracking. So Le Corbusier, they now know was autistic. Mies van der Rohe, and Neutra and Gropius, they all had post-traumatic stress disorder.
And it blew my mind when you mentioned I.M. Pei was abandoned as a child, and he ended up working.
Oh my God, that story of I.M. Pei
That's
being totally
crazy.
abandoned, and then what does he do? He bonds with a guy who's also been abandoned, basically.
Yeah.
It's the non-conscious directs us, and that's what's so scary to me is how the business world does not laugh or neglect emotional experience. They dig right into it and run with it to make more money.
I have a story to tell Ara. When you apply what Anne is doing, the sensors to a building, even it doesn't matter if it's a modernist or a traditional building, you get 100% accurate, objective visual scan. Okay, so,
Yes.
but when you ask a trained architect if they like something, of course they say they like something that's repulsive.
Yeah.
Because they are trained. Now, here is what I discovered when I did my courses. I discovered that architecture students hallucinated.
Yeah.
Because
Well, they're brainwashed a little bit, and they're
no,
not.
but this is actual hallucinations because I gave them geometrical qualities to measure in buildings. So, and I gave them some beautiful buildings and some terribly ugly buildings. And they took, ugly buildings by I.M. Pei, Renzo Piano, Le Corbusier, and they found all the properties that didn't exist. They hallucinated and presented their term project, showing all the non-existent properties, and they were talking about it. Here's this property, and here's this geometrical property in a building that doesn't have any of the properties, which I specially picked because it doesn't have the properties. It's so horribly ugly. And they were hallucinating, and they were normal students.
Yeah. Well,
I've never, this is one of the rare shocks in my life.
Right, but be easy on the students. Human history and human behavior is tricky, and I think there's a rush, certainly after World War II, to be modern. To make plastics.
Yes, but Anne, I gave them things to measure, and they made things up, and they were convinced.
Yeah, but they were trained, and they're trying to get an A. They're trying to do it. I mean, just like the way I was trained.
I have no compassion. We accuse AI of hallucinating. I saw students hallucinating in front of me, and I was shocked.
So do you want me to?
Yes, absolutely. Does it have the share option? Yeah, present on the bottom.
Do you want me to just share some images?
Yeah.
Okay, let me just go find them. Well, I'll just share one image.
Le Corbusier changed the conversation. It was like it wasn't about the human experience. He was like, "Oh, look at the brise soleil. There's the wind coming here. Sun at this angle. We have the ribbon window bringing natural light from the." Like he changed the conversation. It was all about wind, brise soleil blocking the harsh summer sun, and then when we heard that, we kind of got obsessed with that too.
Can I share my screen, or do I?
Yeah, on the bottom it says present.
Oh, okay, cool. Share screen. Share screen is easiest with 2 monitors. Okay. Oh.
You don't have to have 2 monitors. You can share the window or the tab. Or the whatever.
Okay. Okay, I don't know what to do here. Oh, well, let's see. How do I do this? I just go.
Someone commented.
Would like to record this computer screen and audio. Grant access.
I'm curious what Anna and Nikos think of the super popular cozy town building games and how they simulate the unfolding of sensors.
Yes, well, all those games are based on the work of Christopher Alexander. Alexander had the foundations that he developed in architecture and urban design, and the gamers took these into the sim games. And so what the comment refers to is based on Alexander's work. It is only that the professional architects and town planners don't apply Alexander's combinatorial rules to get beautiful human cities. Only the new urbanists and traditional urbanists use similar type of rules to get a human scale environment.
Near's critique of Alexander was, I mean, I love Christopher Alexander, but his critique was, and it kind of makes sense, was that his patterns, his hundreds of patterns, if you look at them, they're describing an Italian hill town. So Near was like, why not just look at the
No. Look, Near is not here. I don't want to hear any criticism of Christopher.
Okay, for sure.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So,
I
so
can't.
Anne, what's happening?
Let me open it. I'm sorry. It won't let me open it.
You want to send me the thing and I'll share it?
Oh, that sounds great. Okay, that
Yeah.
sounds cool. It's so easy to do. Okay, I'll do that
Is
for
it
you. That'd
is
be
it a
great.
link or is it?
Oh, there's a link and you can just click on it. Just go to, just Google, just put in geneticsofdesign.com.
Okay.
And it comes right up, geneticsofdesign.com. And then if you click on an image, it'll enlarge it. It's the first post. And guess what, guys? My blog is almost at 100,000.
Whoa.
Fantastic.
That's good. Even Aras likes that.
Is it this, Genetics of Design?
Yeah, that's it.
Oh.
And then if you press the first thing, it talks about the AIA Expo. And if you press on an image, you can enlarge it big. There you go. That's it.
Okay.
And you can, and so, yeah, this is awesome. So this was the booth. Getting a booth. Do you know how much a 10 square foot booth costs, guys?
Tell us.
6,000.
Yeah.
And
That
the
makes sense.
carpet you have to buy separately. That was $400.
What?
The carpet's $400.
What?
You have to have carpet?
Yes. Carpet or flooring. Anyway, if you go to the next slide, if you go on the next image, and then just press on it. Yeah, so this is really good. It just shows just the kind of animation at the booth, people coming by. Most people had never seen eye tracking before. They didn't know what a heat map was. And then what was really cool is, yeah, that's a heat map there. What was really cool is we were showing also facial expression analysis. This is go down one more picture. It's really fun. Go down the next picture. That's really fun. The next one. There you go. That's the fun.
Whoa.
So that was how we really got people on Friday. He just put that monitor out for people walking by. This was the same corridor that you walk by to go to the keynote. I heard Pete Buttigieg speak. That was amazing. And then you walk by and they say, oh my God, I'm looking at Joy. Oh my God, I'm going to frown. And then they were just amazed that the computer could, react to them more quickly and respond to them and mirror them more quickly than their best friend or their husband. What happens is you get so bonded to this. It was just amazing. And it's so accurate. It was fascinating. This is Affectiva software. And this is now part of Smart Eye. They are the major purveyors worldwide to all the car companies. So, yeah. And I don't know if you know this. I heard, this is amazing, guys. In 2026 in Europe, I heard that it's going to be, these are the books we had. These are the books. And this one's coming up, the Handbook of Neuroscience and the Built Environment. 4 of the chapters of the 30 chapters are on eye tracking. It's by 50 people on 4 continents. And then this is cognitive architecture. And this is a study we have up right now that we're going to take down. It's a 5-minute study. If you go back, it shows, it contrasts windows that are traditional and modern in Lisbon, mostly Lisbon, some in Boston. And you do an eye tracking study. It measures, it goes on any laptop. You have to be in a quiet room. Any laptop with a webcam, it'll measure how your eyes move, how your facial expressions change. And we're going to take that down soon. Yeah, so these are just.
These are older.
These are all, there's like 130 things here, so you don't have to go through. But it's all about how the subliminal directs you, and now you can measure the subliminal. So what's amazing about this tech, it will know how you're feeling before you do. That's where we're at, guys.
Well, look, for our audience, these are revolutionary technological developments. Those tools are available to any architect who cares
Right.
to create a healing environment so that users connect in a positive way, psychologically and physiologically, to what they're experiencing. Please, architects, the tools are there. Okay,
Right.
these are
And emotions really matter. And that's what's so interesting. The business world, the car companies know that, and they really care, and they want the stats on how you look at their website, the stats on how you look at the cover of a Pampers diaper box, whatever. When you start studying some of this, you realize none of the graphic design is random. It's not random.
no.
It's not random. It's psychologically designed to snare you non-consciously, so that consciously you'll pick up the box of Raisin Bran. That's what's so interesting, how easy we are to be manipulated, and the business world knows it and runs with it. Whereas the architects, I told you the story a year and a half ago in Greater Boston. A woman died on the steps of a hospital because she couldn't find the door when she was having an asthma attack.
Well, architecture is one of the few, not the only one, but it's one of the few
it's in a
businesses.
silo. It's in a silo.
It's in a silo, but they can still manage to sell a deficient product just by public relations without any
Because
research.
I don't disagree with you, but I'd argue, in working in the field, I see that architects just have less and less control. It's the business people in control who have the spreadsheet, and the spreadsheet is, what happens if the interest rates go up. The spreadsheet is price per square foot. And it's really run by people who manage the money. We weren't taught that in architecture school, but I learned that pretty quickly. And then the people who manage the money want to see the spreadsheet that comes out the best, that they can, and there's nothing.
Look, here I'm going to join with Ara and gang up against you. Because
no, I think it's the business world.
It is possible to design and build a human building for the same price as a horribly ugly building. Okay, if you want to make it really beautiful, you put a few percentage more.
Exactly. Yeah,
but you can make a basically beautiful building from the geometry.
Charge more for it if it's.
You can charge more; it'll be worth more.
Yeah, yes. We can make that argument, and the certain developers will go for it, but certain developers will probably be like, no, I just want the fastest, cheapest, whatever.
It's more finance driven than I was taught 30 years ago. It's really finance driven, and the financial spreadsheets don't have anything about, well, how quickly will they find the door? How will people feel? How does it fit in the neighborhood? How walkable is it?
Yeah.
It's starting to change, but it's really capitalist driven. And that's what you see in New York. Oh my God. You see this in Vancouver too. Just this glass boxes going up, guys, that are that it's finance capitalism. I think what happens, people also buy them. They don't even live in it, but they buy it as a way to store capital. You understand the math here, Nikos.
There is a pattern that we have written in the new pattern language. Safe deposits box in the sky. People buy unlived in apartments just to park some wealth.
Yeah, that's exactly what's going on. And that's happening a lot with, I think, people coming from China and other countries to park wealth, because the real estate just extrapolates. And it's known as it is shocking to me how it's.
Okay, I agree with everything you said, but I still insist it doesn't have to be horribly ugly. For the same price, you can make something that's somewhat human. Much more human than
what I would say, Nikos, is what I've observed. My sister lives in Brooklyn. She used to have a view of the East River from the 10th floor of her artist studio. This is what she has now.
Yeah, that's
These buildings are empty. Can you imagine? That's what's happening. You can kind of see the East River right between them.
You can see just a sliver of the East River.
That's what's going up. None of this was there 10 years ago. Yeah. This is all in the past. Oh, and look at this. This is what's going up. This is finance capitalism. This is New York. Mm-hmm. This is all within the past 8 years. And it's just, and these buildings, the funny thing is they're empty. The last 2 years I've seen here, they're still empty. Mm-hmm. And that's finance capitalism. What?
Before that looked interesting. Like it looked like Tetris blocks arranged.
Which one was interesting?
The one right before the last one you showed.
Oh, this one here. Hold on. Oh yeah,
Laura,
this does look like this. Let's look. I see.
we show an example of an inhuman building, and you say it looks interesting. Come on, Ara, you're sabotaging.
It's like I mean, just geometric. Like it's like kind of like the Sears Tower, but it's like different.
Oh,
But I
this
wouldn't listen. If you say come meet me for tea, I'm not going to want to meet you for tea there. I'm sorry.
This is
That's true.
horribly inhuman.
Yeah, not human, but
Oh my God! And look at this. Look at this stuff going up. And then to make it human. Oh my God! This is incredible, guys. You're going to love this. So this one just came up, and then I expand the sign.
oh, they put
They have a sign.
Square rentals.
Wow.
It's beyond inhuman. But look at this, look at this, guys. It's beyond inhuman. It's finance capitalism driving it. And there's no room for human experience. And then Manhattan's very valuable. Brooklyn's very valuable. You know, it's crazy. That was just this past that was in March of this year. I took those pictures. Just the extent it's
Okay, you're veering off topic. And are there any other interesting things from the AIA convention?
I think what was most interesting to me, I wish I'd learned this early, is life's about relationships and connections, and people hunger for them. And that's what people were really doing. They weren't talking about architecture. They were talking about each other and meeting up. And I last saw you 30 years ago in LA, and now you work for Disney. And, you know, it was about that.
Okay, who's going to read this out?
Agree that star architecture is intrinsically attached to money laundering and land speculation, probably.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
No, but I think what's happened is our finance capitalism has gotten away with us, our country, and money. And it's just, I see the architecture. We was talking about this actually with an architect yesterday. Architecture disappearing, architecture profession just disappearing. You know, it's.
But yeah, I could see to Nikos' point that not all the blame is on the financier and the speculator and the developer. Some is on the architect, because I had never thought about psychology and how someone looks at the building until I heard Anne talking about it. And I remember when this technology came out where, you know, you would look at text with your phone and it would translate in real time right in front of you. And then where the architectural world took it was, to do as-builts, to measure an existing building, if you need to document it for your project, you just put your phone like this and you get the dimensions right away. And then that's where we went with it. No one went to how does your face react to the building? And I never even heard of that until
right. And that's why I think having that in the middle of the AIA floor, people came by and they were laughing and they were just amazed they could be reflected. And this is what I look like when I smile. Who knew? And then, you know, and how quickly my brain does it. I think, yeah, we have a lot to learn from the business world, but yeah, the way the business world of finance capitalism has taken over architecture is terrifying. It's changed the profession, and the profession doesn't study it. Like, you get a degree and you don't have to take a course in how to read a spreadsheet. But that spreadsheet is going to be driving your career.
Yeah. Really the pro forma phase, the pre-design phase, where they will look at, you know, what the cost is and how many, like if it's going to be the cost benefit analysis and whatnot. But yeah, the architect doesn't really, it's not part of our education.
I want to answer the post that was put up a little while ago. From my experience in Italy, we discovered that this is precisely true in Italy. The mafia money collects, and then the best way to launder it is through construction. And so they find a star architect to build something, and it's effectively money laundering operation. That's from my experience in Italy and from my friends in Italy. For the rest of the world, you know, I assume it's a similar sort of thing, but I have no experience.
Yeah, the role money plays was never discussed in my 3-year architecture program, ever. And money is one of the factors, guys, as well as land cost. And, you know, it's money. And not understanding finance capitalism, not understanding what a spread is if interest rates change, not understanding how bankers think, you are going to be lost. I tried to be a developer once, and I had a lot next to my house I wanted to develop. And I was going to develop a house on it that fit the street, which was a beautiful old street. And I walked into the bank and they started talking about spreads and interest rate changing. And I realized, oh my God, I don't even know their language. I sold the property. I realized I couldn't do it. You know, they were just so miseducated. But, you know, it's just like I learned recently, the doctors for most of the 19th century never washed their hands. It wasn't until the 1870s in germ theory, they started washing their hands when they went from patient to patient. I mean, you know, just like the same way doctors weren't taught about the environment, architects are not taught about the environment that they're in. And finance is a huge piece of it. Huge. Oh, I've got to show you one more thing. I stayed in a dorm at MIT, the Simmons Hall dorm on Vassar Street. I stayed there. And it was wild. It's an all concrete building. Have you ever seen it? I'll show you a picture of it.
I may have.
What? I think it just won the award for the ugliest building award. But I stayed in it. Look at this. Here's the inside.
Oh, the Stephen Hall building, right?
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, that was just. It was fascinating staying in that and seeing.
Can I see the interior again?
That was the dorm room.
Nice.
And it was but it was weird. It's all concrete, but there are some cool space. Oh my, this is what the hallway looks like. So the rooms are very, you know, rectilinear, and then you go into the hallways and they're all curvy. It's very expensive building to build, but in some ways it was fun.
I think the building that got the ugly award. Are you talking about at the beauty and?
Yeah, and it got the ugly award.
No,
it was the ugly award in 2025 from the BUA 2025.
It was a different building, same
Oslo.
architect. Same architect. I think it was the sliced porosity block in China, which is the same thing. It's just bigger. Is that building? It's like 5 of those buildings connected with bridges.
Right. But it was interesting being in a dorm room again, where the bathroom's outside your room, and you know, it's like, oh my God, this. It was wild experience, but it was in some ways you think, oh yeah, I get it. Dorms came from monasteries. Now I'm starting to get it. Yeah,
yes,
and you feel like you're all in a community. It was very interesting, but I would argue you don't want a series of buildings like that in a town. But
I wonder if like the way just matter wants to be arranged at that scale is, you know, columns that are thicker on the bottom, more slender on top, and then you have these different types of orders. But because there are all these similarities with the Hindu temples and the Greek and the Roman and like a lot of societies back then, they had these very ornate columns that all were heavier on the bottom or more slender on top. And all of a sudden, 100 years ago, everything just became a box. The bottom and the top are the same. Everything is just applied all across.
So here's what the building looks like on the outside.
Yes, that's the Stephen Hall dormitories. Yes.
Yeah, that's it. That's where I went. It was built, I think, 20 years ago.
Yeah, no comment. We don't want to have this program taken down.
Yeah. But it was quite. But in the end of the day, passing it on the street is very like confusing. But inside, it was kind of cozy. I slept there for 2 nights.
I think Stephen Hall has a thick skin, and I think he'd take criticism. I mean, I don't think.
Okay, now look, Ara. The human brain evolved over millions of years and has not changed for about 1 million years. Okay, how did it evolve? By interpreting things in nature. So you have tree trunks. Okay, so we recognize them as columns. Okay, do we see any boxes, any giant concrete boxes in the past? No, there weren't any. You know, how about this Stephen Hall building? There was nothing like that. So, you know, it shocks us. But what's funny is it kind of shocks us when it's new, but after 20 years, people are ignoring it now. It doesn't work, you know? Well, we don't connect to it. No. Because the geometry is not living geometry. The brain evolved to interpret living geometry. So everything, if you can identify some geometrical piece in the environment that was there 1 million years ago, and you can do something similar to it, you know, we connect to it. Right. Like the Eiffel Tower, everyone hated it before it went up, and then it went up, and then everyone loved it
after like maybe like
Yeah, because the
That's all
Eiffel Tower is
fractals. The Eiffel
fractal.
Tower is all
That's true, that's
fractals.
true.
It's
It
brilliant
is
design.
fractal and
And
has
it was supposed to
curves.
be a temporary structure. People fell so in love that they kept it forever, and they repainted it, and and now they sell all these earrings with it, and it's everywhere. It's major marketing. But well, listen, guys, it's been so fun talking to you. Sorry for rambling on, but it was
Oh, it's
fun.
awesome. It was awesome.
Okay, so is that it for today?
Yeah, why not?
The shorter the better.
Yeah.
So,
And I'm
Aaron,
gonna
let's talk soon. There's lots we could do.
yeah, heck
Let's
yes.
catch up.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna end the stream right now. End stream.